You have a pair of orphans and retrogrades. Yo, parish orphans and retrogrades. Special episode on aliens and their fakeness and their gayness. If they exist, then they're gay, but they don't because they're fake. And with me to talk about fake gay aliens is Dr. Gregory Gordon. Once again, you first saw us talking about science and stuff on Friday. And thanks for coming back on the next Friday. Too bad Friday doesn't begin with S, an S sound. Greg, then we could do like a Sunday science thing or Saturday science.
That'd be super. Yeah, thank you for having me back on. I am like the Dr. Jill Biden of ufology. So yeah, this is definitely right up my alley. So thank you. Good to be back.
That's awesome. I mean, you are a doctor. You're a real doctor, though.
This is a house of learned doctors.
But if anyone's having a medical situation and they yell for a doctor, just like Joe Biden, they're going to be very disappointed if I show up. You know, I'll ask them if there's a crustal or sedimentary rock emergency, or it won't be the same thing.
Like, are there any crustal emergencies coming out of your? I guess
there could be, but yeah, it's more sandwich related, so that'd be a different thing.
Or secretions, I guess it could be secretory. Well, even though they'll be disappointed if they have a medical situation, I don't think people will be disappointed with this show. I want to talk about something that's been in the news really since the summer of 2021, which was on and off in fits and spurts. And one of the things that's been on my mind since summer of 2021, this major news break that happened in late May, early June, UFOs are real, was the news break. Is that, okay, this is Project Bluebeam, which I'd been really interested in for a long time, basically as long as I'd been interested in Stranger Things. And I said, this is going to be Beer Bug Part 2, Corona Bug Part 2, as we called it during the whole virus. This is how they're going to force people into the smart cities. It's going to be martial order. Aliens are real. And the story as it broke in 2021 summer was kind of eerie. We were, my family, Greg, was returning from our first trip back to California after we moved out here nearly 6 years ago. It had been a year. And I think we were going to Yellowstone or something. It was a kind of dreary afternoon, and we were just driving in the RV, and they kind of broke in like it was breaking news. And they said, hey, there's all this naval data that's just being released. Aliens are whatever they're called, UFOs, UAPs,
yeah, whatever. They
were spotted from 2004 to 2006 off of this particular spot in the coast of Baja, California. And they described the behavior of these Tic Tac aircraft. And Steph and I looked at each other because, well, you know, there's an autobiographical thing here. Neither of us have been probed by aliens. But as far as I know, but we'll get to that part later. I do have a story as concerns Baja California and these UAPs, and I'm not trying to be funny. People are waiting for the punchline. I don't think I've ever talked about it on this show. I've never talked about my being probed, but we'll get to that in a second. But the point is, ever since 2021, the last 5 summers, they have teased aliens and then brought them back and then pushed them back out onto the stage in really deliberately undeliberate ways, and then brought them back. And then about 2 weeks ago, just over 2 weeks ago, Trump said, look, there's alien files. And then they pushed it out there onto the stage and once again kind of brought the stage hook and hooked it back. And the release was really not a release. So I don't know if you have a preliminary thought on whether or not little Martians are real, but that's what the show is on. And Greg, I'd give you first pass on just a sort of, a preliminary remark. After that, I want to talk for 7 minutes about electoral politics, because I haven't done a show on the Thomas Massie thing. And you're a masshole. I'm something of a masshole. And but anyway, so for first, yes. Do you believe in little green aliens as a scientist?
Yeah, little green aliens, UFO. Well, we should differentiate between little green aliens and like UFOs/UAPs. So UFOs, or unidentified flying objects. What are UAPs? Unidentified aerial phenomena, I believe. Plural of phenomenon. Yeah, so those by definition exist. Anything in the sky, anything flying around that you can't initially identify, or that it remains kind of mysterious, or you just see something fly across your field of vision. Yeah, anything like that is a UFO or a UAP by definition, right? And so we have these reports, certainly from about 20 years ago, off the coast of San Diego, Coronado, down to, I guess, northern Baja, right? Mm-hmm. And, all of those things that we can discuss, those are all under the broad heading, the genus of UFOs or UAPs, right? So those in and of themselves are not necessarily mysterious, bizarre, strange, otherworldly. We don't know. It's a broad term. But as far as aliens, it's a bold claim. I haven't seen any evidence. My mind, as usual, can be changed with evidence, for sure. All I say is, for the believers out there, show me the evidence. Any extraordinary claim, as we've all heard a million times before, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I want to see the data. I want to see footage that doesn't look ridiculous, the grainy black and white with the papier-mâché alien heads or whatever, and some guy, with their hand up the backside, moving them like a puppet. I just want to see like real data. And again, this kind of goes back to last week. If there is something that's true about the world, about the universe, whatever, well, there should be multiple lines of evidence that all point in the same direction. So instead of just one crazy guy in like a trailer park in West Virginia, and nothing against those fine people there, but instead of one bizarre report, coming from kooky sounding people, I want to see like hundreds or thousands, millions of reports. If it's some, alien spacecraft, with little Martians or aliens like getting out of the spacecraft and going around probing people, you'd think there would be tens or hundreds of thousands of people with iPhones that would point it up at the sky and say, whoa, what is that thing? Whoa, it's landing in Escondido. Whoa, they're getting out and they're going down the road to Poway and they're going into the 7-Eleven or whatever, So I'm just kind of like, show me the evidence, show me the data. Hey, my mind can be changed on anything. And that's one thing, even with old Earth, young Earth, whatever it is, any claim, if someone comes to you with a crazy sounding claim, well, okay, I can't even really engage with someone or debate or have a discussion about crazy sounding things or maybe not so crazy sounding things, but I have to know how I would change your mind. And I think it's fair for them to say, okay, Greg, well, how would I change your mind about aliens, the existence thereof, or UFOs or Martians, right? I don't know. What do you think about that?
We approach it the same way. It's got to be, a falsifiable claim. Same thing. We talked about it a week ago, vis-a-vis other a posteriori synthetic claims, aka the claims of science. Sorry to be a gay Kantian about it, but claims that are subject to non-self-identitative synthetic a priori propositions. So sorry to sound so fake and gay that way, but I mean, when a claim depends on like history or whatever, then like I could maybe literally young Earth is true. I say this to Sedes, right? As long as there's not what we call philosophically coherent, though improbable, is like I say this to Sedes, maybe sedevacantism is correct. There's not a contradiction in the premises of for example, a sedevacantist Catholic. People will say, oh, you're so much softer on them, even though they're more extreme than SSPX. Well, SSPX literally has contradictions in its premises. So we know analytically, we know a priori analytically that it's wrong. Contradiction can't coexist within something's premises. I just don't think it's likely that our last real pope is, Pius XII in 1958. But it is philosophically coherent. So there's nothing self-contradictory in like young Earth, new Earth. We already did all that. I'm just saying I'm repeating what we said last time. The evidence shows that not much in favor of. There's a lot of con, not a lot of pro. When it comes to aliens, the one reason I would be harder to convince that they're real, even if I started seeing evidence, is basically today's show. One, because the technology is so good. Space is made in a Hollywood basement, like Anthony Kiedis says.
Lookout Mountain, Laurel Canyon. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And they're kind of admitting it now. That's part of the PSYOP, is the PSYOP of the PSYOP of the PSYOP. They made that movie 2 years ago about, the moon landing thing. And they say, well, this was a conditional in case it didn't work out. We were going to fake it. I don't know. But also anthropologically, what I know as a Christian is, Jesus Christ and the sacraments and the promises of the church. That's like the one thing, like, you're not going to part me from that. I could be young Earth. I'd feel a little retarded, but if that's the truth, I'd get used to it. You could part me from anything, but anthropologically, I do find it would take a little more evidence for me to believe that there's something between a rational, corporeal animal and a corporeal person of a rational nature and an angel. And there's no reason for it. It's philosophically parsimonious. It's extra. It's ad extra, and it's not necessary. So there's lots of evidence they're not real. There's lots of evidence that this would be a beer bug type 2 psyop, since we all know now beer bug was a psyop. And we've had lots
Ebola's coming next, not to interrupt you.
Right.
They're pushing Ebola, everything they kind of grasp. And sometimes there's a false start and they're like, darn it, that one didn't kind of take off, but they're winding the next one up to see which one can spin out. But yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, so that's that. So what we'll do today is we'll talk about aliens in the news, introduce to the few people out there who don't know, because I've talked about it on the show, Project Blue Beam, why it would follow beer bug, as I guess I'm allowed to say COVID now, but we still say beer bug, as a corollary that would make a lot of sense for them. And remember what beer bug proved to be was the set piece for Agenda 2030 and all those goals that the UN pointed out. And they're still marching forward with that. So I think Blue Beam would be the perfect next piece. I want to read a science article. I think I sent it to you, at least beginning on why UFOs, like you distinguished helpfully, Greg, at the very beginning, don't mean aliens. UFO means impressive government technology that really exists, though it doesn't seem like it could. And it's our government, probably.
And we have seen this before. We can talk about Roswell or whatever. It's a pattern. We've got data about this before.
Exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm. So even Roswell, I mean, not to veer you off right there, but it's like, okay, Roswell, everyone's thinking, oh, wow, it's amazing. There was this alien crash. There are these bodies of these aliens or whatever. And it's amazing because if you go back, and I haven't studied it carefully, but even going back and looking at that and the initial news reports, just even a little bit, you realize it's funny how the federal government reacts, how they kind of let things fester. They let the misinformation go. But at certain points, they jump back in with their own misinformation or disinformation, right? So it went from right off the bat, I don't know, oh, it's a crazy alien crash. And then it went to, okay, well, a limited hangout, perhaps. It started coming out that, oh, it was a weather balloon. It was a crash of a weather balloon with the cheesy foil and like the plastic scaffolding. Nothing more, nothing less. And then it finally comes out, and I think it's pretty well accepted now that it was part of Project Mogul. And Project Mogul is actually secret spy balloons, essentially, that were meant to keep an eye on, I believe, the Soviet nuclear program. This is very, Cold War and right at the dawn of the Cold War type stuff, maybe going into the heart of the Cold War, right? And so that's very instructive, with Roswell. And then things have kind of been kept alive there, I think, with Chamber of Commerce stuff and, Roswell, New Mexico, and Area 51 type enjoyers, right? But when you actually dig into it, once you've kind of woven through the different initial releases of information, misinformation, the limited hangouts, you kind of realize like, okay, yeah, now that was kind of a US government cover up, and they allowed or fed some of the conspiracy theorists or some of the kooky explanations because they wanted to cover or they wanted to equivocate or muddy the waters, I think. And I think that's very instructive when we look at some of these that we have witnessed over the years.
Which is precisely how disinfo works. Disinfo is trot it out there, bring it back, trot it out there more or less specifically one time, bring it back, trot it out there, pretend that you didn't mean to when you did mean to pretend you're being clunky. They're really good at it. And
give a very, very specific sounding, credible sounding lie, and then maybe reel that back in. So this is my pangolin theory for COVID. You remember this? The initial weeks, I think it was March, maybe April of 2020, right at the onset when COVID was really getting ramped up, when the PR people were really starting to fire on all cylinders. Remember, people were asking, where did this come from? Like, what is going on? How long have people been sick over in China? Is it China or is it Italy? In those early days. And then you started hearing, it came from the wilds of China, out in the hills of China, in the karst topography of China. It was pangolins. And I remember thinking right immediately at the time, pangolin? What the hell is a pangolin? Why is anyone in the United States, why are we saying the word? Why do I know what the word pangolin means? I had to look it up. It's some weird like fake mammal thing. And that right there told you like, oh, someone from either the CDC or NIH or one of Fauci's lying minions basically said, don't just say bat, because they didn't just lie and say, oh, it came from bats, which would be much more the traditional thing, hantavirus or what, from guano. They were like, no, get weirder, get more specific. Onus, who came up with the pangolin BS. And so the more specific, the weirder, but more esoteric it sounds, initially that's enough to fool the public in a lot of these instances. So that's what I kind of call the pangolin theory of some of this disinformation and stuff that gives rise to the conspiracy theories.
Yeah, you're making me think of something in Thomistic epistemology. It's that we intend ends, right? You can only intend an end, but you deliberate means. What they seem to do, the capital T, they. I'm channeling Murray. What's his name? Not Murray Rothbard. Murray from Stranger Things. You want to be when they're first circulating disinfo. They want to use something, to use Murray's exact term, that's familiar yet frightening, right? Which is why you kind of water down something if you want to give disinfo. But then when they're justifying it or they're specifying it, then they want to use terms like, don't call it a bat, call it a pangolin, or whatever, however you pronounce it. Because then it sounds techie. So it sounds like, hey, there are experts on it. And so it's the equivalent, I think, I think it's not the equivalent. I think it's a species of the genus that you always intend an end, and you deliberate means. This is what they do. You have to specify the thing, and this is what the whole doctrine of specification amounts to in Thomism in terms of what really knowing a thing is. So, in other words, we're saying, Greg, you and I, that it's a really elegant form of disinfo, because they've been playing with it over 5 years and kind of massaging it, bringing it out, pushing it back since that summer of 2021.
Yeah, all the conflicting reports, all the different, literally quite the reports that are coming out. Oh, just wait. This is, Fox News got big into this a few years ago. And I think even to the present day, oh, the answers are coming. It's going to come, and it's going to blow your mind. And then they kind of pull it back, or they do a partial release. And then they trot out maybe one or two well-meaning or even kooky guys, maybe some of them are liars. They bring them out on the cable news shows, and they might have the medals on their chest and the official uniform. They seem very believable, very credible.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of goes away for 6 months or a year. Then it goes back to, oh yeah, we're gonna release that report. We're getting ready, just like the JFK files, right? Or whatever, the 9/11 stuff, Epstein files, right? It's all lies. But yet people get so distracted so quickly. It's like, oh yeah, it's coming. The UFO stuff's coming. The JFK release, it's coming. The rest of the Epstein files, Pam Bondi, she's got them on her desk. What a bizarre lie. Why would you lie about that? Because they know we're going to forget in 2 days with the news cycle or whatever, right? So yeah, you're right. They trot it out. They tease it, and then they kind of lure it back in with their fishing line, metaphorically speaking. And we've got to learn from this. We've got to see the pattern of disinformation coming from the government and how they work with and collude with media to keep us titillated and to keep us distracted and kind of, looking at the wrong thing, the squirrel trotting along the fence line or whatever when the house is on fire.
I'll tell you where I got good at specifying, spotting, diagnosing disinfo was during the Francis pontificate. And I got good at it relatively early on. And so when, if I pat myself on the back a little bit, and that's therefore with COVID, I never believed it. I remember December 2019, never believed it. I was like, let me look at the numbers and all that. And it ends up right. So there are patterns of ways that they're really only trying to trick the 80%, the 90%. They don't care if their skin mask is showing with regard to the other 10%. And that brings us to a couple other stories I want to get to before we jump into, I think we can muscularly show why this is probably disinfo throughout the course.
Wesley Huff, I just saw him there. That's disinfo.
This guy?
Oh, the Wesley, I saw up in the scroll or whatever in the feed, Protestant, that Wesley Huff guy.
Yeah. Is he talking?
Is he not a fan of rules for retrogrades? I'm guessing
he's just a goof. He dodges debates with me. He won't debate me. Trent Horn was trying to set up a debate between he and I.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, he's probably the slipperiest of all the Protestant apologists. But no, I don't know what he's saying there.
He's saying. Prayers to saints are idolatry.
Oh,
But you can ask like some guy down the street to pray for you, right? That's fine.
Yeah. No,
man. If only we had an answer to that. That's never been addressed before, but he's hitting me out of the blue. Yeah, give me a second to think about this one. Sorry, Steph. I know you were scrolling down, and then I did a look squirrel on Wesley Huff.
Okay, can you see this guy, Greg? Think about what you're gonna say. I'm gonna call out a few things. You could see this bald man.
Well, that's Jim Carrey as Fire Marshal Bill, right?
Precisely. That's what we'll talk about today. Is what's his last name? There's an extra R in there.
Harward.
I think Kruger. Oh no.
Yeah, Freddie Boiler Room Kruger. This guy on the left is, I don't think, the same as the guy on the right. And you can see the bottom of this is how disinfo works. And the reptilian people are out saying he's a reptilian. It doesn't take much to get those people saying reptilian. He's not a reptilian. He's just, or maybe he's an alien. He's just another guy pretending to be Harward or whatever. And we'll talk about that in a second as we move from in this liminal space between politics and aliens. But first, I want to tell everyone that it's the perfect time to get out of your blue state, get to a red state, or even if you're already in a red state, to get from one place to another. Go to www.realestateforlife.org, and a pro-life, probably pro-Catholic person will help you to get out of your house now and get to a new, better house that you want to live in. www.realestateforlife.org. Seriously, it's an important part of actually living in a place you believe in, where you believe your neighbors are similar enough to you, because that's what a republic is. www.realestateforlife.org. If you want to help this show, we're trying to get to 75,000 subscribers, and it should be an attainable goal with regard to this summer. Please click subscribe. Also like the video, leave a comment on how fake and gay you think aliens are, and a comment on, you know, maybe if you think aliens are real, why, something like that. And if you want to help the show beyond that, we are on locals. We're trying to get to 500 local supporters. We're almost there. And to that end, we are, you know, we're giving you hard goods now, not just bit goods. And you can get a Parish Orphan Patron Pack if you become a $13 a month locals supporter. Otherwise, you can go to timothyjgordon.com, click donate, and we have classes, marital coaching, all our goods and services there. So I'm looking at this article called Sorry.
All right, who's going to do the voice?
Not me. But
Let me show you something. Yeah,
the guy on the right looks a lot more like Jim Carrey's earliest. The first time I ever saw him was Fire Marshal Bill on In Living Color. And that guy looks a hell of a lot like Fire Marshal Bill. The guy on the left. Sorry, stop looking at it. The guy on the left is supposedly Robert Harward, or whatever his name is, with the extra
Great university. Harward.
Harward. Yeah, German. Belgian university. But so the problem is he appeared on Fox News 2 nights ago, and his skin mask is clearly showing there, which is bizarre because these things are real. They're like $1,000 to $2,000, and they're very realistic. Like, you know, Weta Workshop has had them for decades. Now people can buy them. Very, very realistic skin masks. And I don't think it's a reptilian or an alien. And I don't know why this guy, though he's a high-ranking military naval officer, I don't know why he would be sufficiently important to put him out there giving fake info. But I think the most important thing is here, they purposely left the bottom of the skin mask showing. That's in, you get queued up when you go on any of these news shows. You get set in their window. They make sure you're exactly 1.5 inches from the top. They knew that was there. So that's what I'm saying about disinfo. Greg, can you see his neck if you haven't seen this before?
I can, and I haven't seen this before. I'm not even sure what he was saying on these shows. Yeah, it's either, not even to play devil's advocate, but it's either like a totally different lighting situation on the left, or maybe in the 3 days intervening between those videos, allegedly. First of all, he's wearing the same clothes, which is kind of weird. Like 3 days apart, I guess.
I didn't even notice that.
It's the exact same outfit. So I don't know, maybe he sleeps in that, or he's got like a Charlie Brown situation going on or whatever, but same outfit. And to be fair, maybe in the 3 days between these appearances, he got like a massive facelift or one of those neck lifts or whatever, you know, but yeah, it's like the lighting is different, or it's some strange situation, because the guy on the left, for those who are listening on the audio podcast, it's like a totally different neck with like the loose skin. So I don't know. I can definitely see what you're pointing at there, and it seems very different between left and right.
If he got a facelift, then he needs to not tip his surgeon, because he never sewed him up. There's a flap there that's open, literally, of his skin. You might not be able to see. I could barely see.
Oh, I think I see. Yeah, I couldn't tell if that was like a massive like wrinkle or divot in his.
It's literally open. This is not doctored, and
it's like a shadow underneath it too, and you can see his actual neck muscles underneath moving, whereas that neck, what looks like the mask, isn't really moving. It's like whatever's under there is moving, and the shadow is moving, but like this, like neck drape.
We don't have to. There's nothing.
Dear Lord, this got very anatomical, Elvis.
Yeah, it got very epidermatological. But there's nothing really super intelligent to say about it. I kind of just wanted to show it to you guys.
It is strange. Can I ask, did you guys listen to this? Like, what is he talking about? Does it have to do with like UAPs or aliens?
No, it's
something
not alien specific. I was just making a joke, because people, you know, like Jay Dyer was joking. He saw this video 2 nights ago. He's like, and here come the reptilian people. You know, the people really believe that reptilians can take off a skin mask, like the Grand High Witch in the Roald Dahl book, you know, and conceal even like bigger heads with magic masks. They're a hilarious group. and maybe some of them are in this audience, but I
Yeah.
kind of just wanted to show that hilarious video. It's kind of alien related.
Here's a guy actually putting one on. Like
It's
one of
odd.
these.
Yeah. I mean, it's off-putting. Wow. Look at that.
No, they're really good.
Crazy.
They're really
Wow.
good. You could. I mean, that's not AI. So, and they're about $1,000, $1,500. And he would be one of these guys. I'm going to read from this. Sorry, but it's probably not aliens article once we get back onto that. But first, I just wanted to do sort of the overlapping area between what had happened earlier that night that this hit, and now was just someone else besides Robert Harward and wearing a Robert Harward mask. And
can I ask, what was he talking about? Was it just committing genocide or bombing everyone in the Middle East to Kingdom Come? Your average fare on Fox News or wherever? Maybe it wasn't Fox. I don't know.
Why genocide is good. It was Fox.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's probably what it was then.
Yeah.
Why 2 million Palestinians or guilty terrorists or whatever it was.
Right. How the women and children are really bullies over there, deserving death. But what had happened earlier that night was the Thomas Massie defeat in the primary. And I just wanted to, just because people have been asking me about it a lot since then, say it looks like it could be another Palantir kind of situation because of the freak of voting numbers. Both sides increased their turnout by a shocking proportion. Both sides, those who voted for Massie and for the new incumbent or the new what's the guy's name?
Ed Galroon or whatever, like Tucker was calling him.
And it was shocking. And Miriam Edelweiss or whatever her name is, Miriam Edelstein, Adelson, spent millions upon millions of dollars in the most expensive congressional primary in the history of the United States to influence this election. And it looks like just dumping tons of money works, especially if maybe they're willing to cheat on top of it.
Yeah.
But what do you think? I mean,
well, like my stand on lizard people, I'm skeptical initially of claims that there was extensive election interference, although it's certainly possible. I think one of maybe, while I'm very disappointed, we can talk about why, but I think one of the best explanations maybe for why both of their numbers went up in this primary, and they certainly did. The numbers of actual votes cast in this primary are much higher by, I think, like 20%, or I forget the exact percentage, but it's significantly higher than 2 years ago. And as you all know, we vote for representatives. It's every 2 years. So 2 years ago, it was much lower numbers. But I think that reflects all of the national attention on this race. However, I'm totally open to, if evidence is presented, I mean, I've never been against the idea that there can't be election fraud. I mean, 2020, come on. If you look at those numbers statistically, just the amount of Democratic votes cast for president, 2016 or 2012, 2016, 2020, it's a huge blip. And then things level out again. It's very strange. So I'm not against that. I just have to see more circumstantial evidence. And circumstantial evidence is powerful, by the way. I'm not denigrating it. DNA evidence is circumstantial. But I was certainly disappointed. I think Thomas Massie is a brilliant man, a constitutionalist, a patriot who loves being at his homestead with his family. He married his high school sweetheart. Famously, she tragically passed away. Trump, disgustingly enough, mocked him for getting remarried. Whatever you think about remarriage, it's certainly allowed biblically. Christians are allowed to remarry. Trump was vicious in his ripping Thomas Massie apart. I think that's despicable. But I think Massie is a fine man. He is the most Constitution-adhering, patriotic member of the House that we had. I think it's vile that the President of the United States essentially waged war against him, saying, oh, he's the worst congressman we've ever had. When we've got Ilhan Omar, we have a bunch of neocon war hawks, we have Rashida Tlaib, and all of a sudden it's Thomas Massie. After he drove Marjorie Taylor Greene Another real person, another very good, I think, sincere, patriotic congressman from Georgia, congresswoman, whatever. I just think the whole thing is a disgrace, not only from how Trump handled it, but also how fellow conservatives are spiking the football and are dancing on the grave of Thomas Massie, this man who does buck the party trends. He's not a worshiper of the presidency. He's truly a patriot. He truly guides his votes based on what is in the Constitution. And no, people, you're not required to have loyalty to the president. That's disgusting to almost all of our founding fathers. They talked about the rivalry between branches of government. I'm sure, Tim, you've talked about this a lot with all the different modes of federalism. Well, we're supposed to have horizontal federalism, right? Yep. We're supposed to have competition between different wings of the government. If we don't have competition between the legislative and the executive branch, then we don't have a constitutional republic as it was designed. And so Trump, and I guess now most Republicans in this country, most so-called conservatives, think that there has to be a binding union between the executive and the legislative branch, which is disgusting to me. I find it disgusting that the legislative branch will even cancel votes on whether or not to authorize this war, this unconstitutional war now, very clearly, because they don't care about, they've given up their legislative duties under the Constitution. They apparently don't care. They have fealty, they have allegiance to Donald Trump. So we don't need the Constitution under Mike Johnson, who's like an empty suit, a Ken doll, John Thune, any of these losers. I guess now Lindsey Graham is now MAGA. We don't need the Constitution. Crumple it up, throw it in the trash. All we need is the will and the whim of Donald Trump, who was never a constitutionalist, never a conservative, never even an ethical or moral man. And what he's done in targeting a real American citizen who referred to Washington, D.C. as Mordor, oftentimes, someone who actually prioritizes his constituents and the American taxpayer and the Constitution over foreign interests. Well, Donald Trump, congratulations. You have discarded a real American. Imperfect, maybe. Maybe you don't agree with all of his votes, people. Oh, I'm not a libertarian. Okay, stop with the labels. How about what does the Constitution say? So congratulations, Trump and so-called MAGA, the former MAGA, which is now dead. It's shattered. Congrats. You've thrown a real one, a real American patriot out of Congress. And so those are a few of my thoughts. I'm very disgusted, and we can talk about realpolitik going forward because this changes everything. They want to lecture us about power, all you so-called right-wingers, allegedly. Well, see, this is how it works. They put out the talking points. I'm sure you saw this. You saw all these bots, all these so-called right-wingers, which I'm very much a right-winger. So it's funny watching them come at it as like emperor worship. They said, tell me if you saw this, Tim. Politics is a team sport. All you so-called libertarians, that word went out, and all of the MAGA bots and the dopes started saying politics is a team sport. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, yep. You just threw my team and my guy out. So now what I want to see happen is your agenda be foiled. So two can play at this game. Now you can mock him and you could say, you don't know how it works, you libertarians, you Tea Party types. 15 years ago, it was the Tea Party, right? You constitutionalists, we're right wingers. We worship this emperor guy. Okay, well, guess what? Your majority is like what, 218 to 217 or something like that? They have like a 2-seat majority. Well, Thomas Massie now, I hope he goes in and blows things up, metaphorically speaking. Blow up this war. I want it gone. There's a bunch of stuff I want dissolved. So you want to wage war on this guy and you want to talk about realpolitik and power like you're all Machiavelli or you're studying Italian power theory, the elites? Okay, bring it on. So let's do it then. Let's play at that game. You can mock him as just one man. I want to see what that one man can actually do using the Constitution. He can say, okay, I'm not part of your 218 or 219 seat majority anymore. I don't worship Mike Johnson and President Donald Trump. I'm trying to do what's right for my constituents under the Constitution. I want to see real power being played here. I'd love to see what's going to happen in the next 6 months. Sorry, I had a lot of feelings there. I don't know. What do you think about any of that?
Yeah, I agree with all that. I mean, you're up in your fields. Everyone was. It was a disgusting display. We live in a post American republic, and I mean, there's only so many times I can say it. The key to understanding how to fix it all, no one's really out there saying, even the people I'm the closest to who have national voices are not saying this is about political geography. America's too big and it doesn't work. And if Thomas and Aristotle were saying 100,000 citizens is too big to be a real republic or polity, then I'm with them. And it just proves that a third of a billion, better part of a hemisphere, is maybe even a little bit over 100,000 citizens. By the way, Massie increased his turnout by 19% from literally in 2024. His vote count was 39,929 to 47,539. So it's a right at exactly a 19.2% increase. Whereas his opposition vote in the primary, of course, was increased by 357%. So opposition vote went from 2024 12,664 to a total of 57,822. That's a sizable increase. Yes, it's the most expensive campaign in primary congressional primary history. So that could account for the spread. Maybe not. I'm probably not going to end up looking into it. It's not really my bag, but definitely Massie could have been 2020'd. And Ed Galrein, you know, he had a tailwind named Miriam Adelson
and Paul Singer, and the big billionaires.
The big Jewish billionaires. And
it's true too. People will say, "Oh, you guys all talk about AIPAC all the time, blah blah blah." AIPAC, they can say, where are the AIPAC donations? Well, AIPAC doesn't usually, from what I understand, directly donate. They donate to other groups, the intermediate groups, and then those groups donate. And so the fact is, most expensive primary ever, upward of $30 million being spent for this Galrein guy, whoever that is. Nobody seems to know. He's a warm body, essentially. And so the question, though, I want to ask all of these people, all these Trump bots, and by the way, I was not anti-Trump, especially this time around. I actually voted for him in 2024. I had high hopes that he would come in and crush the deep state, that he would end corruption, that he would do what he promised he would do, as well as not starting new wars, all that. So I was rooting for him, and the first few months were very promising. So I've been very disappointed by all these guys, the Dan Bonginos, the Donald Trump's entire cabinet, JD Vance. I've been very disappointed. I was rooting for them, right? So I kind of lost my train of thought with where I was going with that. But this is not just some anti-Trump rant. These are people, I think you and I both wanted him to succeed with what he promised he would do, and it's gone off the rails in the past 6 to 8 months for sure.
Yeah, well, he's a Zionist, right? He sold us out with Project Warp Speed. I was done with him over that. He's proven to have completely reversed course on no new wars. We suspected it before 2024. That he was lying on no new wars, but I didn't think that we'd already be involved in 3 new wars this quickly. Of course, I was sort of in the confidence of Carrie Prejean Bowler and was helping her, contact higher ups in the church. We were talking about, we were doing counsel when that whole story came out. So Catholics are pretty disgusted with Trump, and accounts like even Ed Fazer, who typically stays out of politics, was like, whoa, he's
been very outspoken. I think he's been great, fascinating to follow his comments.
Yeah. And I used to think, he's still trying to be part of the university academia system. So maybe he has a little bit of a vested interest in attacking Trump because they hate him for different reasons. But he's been right on point with what are the good reasons to hate Trump. And essentially being Catholic is enough. Being a Catholic who understands that essentially to love Trump, you have to be, we're not going to go all into this because I want to get back to aliens, but you have to essentially embrace dispensationalism and evangelical Protestantism. Not even older denominations of Protestants like him anymore. He has so like full-throatedly endorsed a policy that is a tight corollary of a theology that's just not our own. So if you're Catholic or Eastern Orthodox, or even, you know, one of the mainline Protestants who are not evangelical, then he's gone to a place very immediately in this second, third administration, whatever have you, that we just can't follow. And, you know, we're not prepared to. I'm rooting against him. I do hope Massie runs as an independent, destroys the ability of Trump to claim victories, you know, with all of his endorsements in the general 2026 election.
Yeah, and can I just add before I was kind of went off on the disclaimer or whatever, but I think that the ball is in the court of the people who are definitely on the Trump, ultra Trump side. They need to explain, any of these people that are even Ed Gowrine supporters, such as they actually exist, but the Fox News watchers, these people, I just want to know the answer to this question. Why did they spend upwards of $25 million to primary one guy out of 435 who voted most of the time? I've heard low estimates, 77%, 91%.
Career, yeah.
77 to 91% of the time he's voting with the Republicans. The other 23 or 9% of the time he's voting with the Constitution, right? But I want to hear the explanation of why one guy. I mean, it sounds dumb. We all have been talking about it, but I want to hear them say why. Why did you spend $25 million? Why couldn't he just win? Why? What is it? They say it's not about Israel. So why was it Miriam Adelson and Paul Singer and groups affiliated with AIPAC that spent, many of them were like $4 million a pop, some of these PACs. I've seen it. Yeah. I've got the list. Google it. We'll all find it in 30 seconds. We don't need to do that right now. Your audience can if they're interested. Why did they spend $25 million? Now, the talking points went out. Well, it's because he got on Trump's bad side. He was disloyal to Trump, which is retarded. That's stupid enough on its own. But that's not what it is. Because how many dozens of others, the Mike Lawlers, the other rhino Republicans, how many others have gone against Trump? But then Trump forgets it instantly. Like a month later, all these Republicans and senators who have gone against him and have even tried to impeach Trump in the House, who have voted for impeachment, how many of them are okay with Trump? So it's not just, I went against Trump. That's a lie. Okay. Whoever it is out there, all these Trump bots and whatnot, it's like any of them, the Benny Johnsons of the world, I love to engage with them. It is a lie. It's not because Thomas Massie had the chutzpah to go against Trump. The reason Trump targeted him is fill in the blank, because it's not just your Lindsey Graham or your Never Trumper or your Mike Lawler or whoever it is at all. It's all a lie. They need to answer that question. Yeah, because the answer is going to be very telling, right?
No one here believes it's anything that Benny Johnson or dare I say any of the outright outspoken Zionist MAGA or faggots like Cat Turd would say that, you know, the pretext you just gave, because he got on Trump's bad side, he went off. It's that he violated the American civic religion of Israelism, as Tucker Carlson dubbed it. I think that's correct, or Judaism-ism, more aptly. I think it's that he deigned to run foul of President Trump's new Israel agenda when it comes to concealing the Mossad files, the Epstein files. And he was a pebble in Trump's shoe last summer on the Epstein files. That got really nasty, but good for him on that. And then he's been a pebble in Trump's shoe since October of 2023 on Israel support. And then, you know, since February, when we, America, that is, got involved in this Israeli adventurism again in the Iran war. So anything involved in Israel is unforgivable, which is why Marjorie Taylor Greene is also unforgivable. They're really, among all the people that refused to build Trump's wall, with all of the pushback he got on deporting Somalis in Minnesota. No, that's not unforgivable. What's unforgivable is to go against the American civic religion since 1948, which is Israelism. And we all know it. We don't have to pretend otherwise. The Thomas Massie defeat, as Cat Turd said, he wants to drink all of our tears as if they're liberal tears, was them speaking with one voice. The other side, whatever you call MAGA now, speaking with one voice. This is our top priority. It's MIGA. It's make Israel great again, and we will not suffer any gainsaying on this issue. So no one here believes anything other than that. I don't think anyone under 55 believes that anything other than this is what's at work. I think it's only people that watch Fox News and maybe watch the Daily Wire still. Can you imagine? And are like 56 years old. They're the only people in the world that consider themselves conservative or liberal and buy this shit anymore. So that's what the Massie thing was. I think for me, I think for you.
Yeah. And there was, I think a lot of these people were paid. I don't have direct evidence of that, but the payoffs, I mean, some of this stuff, some of the repeating of the same lines over and over with these squawking heads from the Benny Johnsons on down to the John Doyles. I don't have direct evidence of it, but it's like, oh my gosh, you guys literally are saying the same thing. I wonder if it's not just the memo, the talking point that goes out. Are they paid by someone? Who is it? Is someone getting paid? I literally, some of these guys I want to know. Oh man, one of them was on Piers Morgan the other night. It's just, and it's unbelievable.
Who was it? Do you remember?
Oh, man, I forget. One of the worst of them going at Dave Smith. Oh boy, it's eluding my mind. He's just absolutely, it was strange. Like some of these guys, their entire X feed has turned into just pure hatred for Thomas Massie in the past 2 weeks.
Right.
And it's
past 2 months. Did you see in March where, what was it? People were all retweeting. What was it in March? Oh, it was on the tip of my memory where there was one expression that all of the MAGA people were retweeting. Benny Johnson retweeted, all of those clones retweeted it.
Even James Lindsay has now been brought into the fold, which is strange. And I don't know that James Lindsay's getting paid off or whatever, but yeah, he's like MAGA now or MAGA adjacent. It's strange, it's very bizarre.
He's on that side. Yeah.
How they coordinate so intensely. But yeah, I've seen these like little 1 week bursts where they're all saying the same thing, coincidentally. And it's just bizarre. They need to answer the question, like, why does this guy need to go? It makes no sense according to what they're saying. You and I know what's going on, but I want to hear them say it. And it's so stupid because politics is a team sport, or he got on Trump's bad side. He voted against Trump. Yeah, everyone votes against Trump. Trump forgets the next day. That's not what it is. We know what it is. Massie had the temerity to object to this war and the militarism on behalf of Israel and Iran. And now Trump has gotten rid of the most constitutional congressman. So way to go.
Yeah.
Hope you guys are happy.
So hopefully they'll pay in the general midterm elections. Did you happen to, this is not a whole talking point. Did you happen to watch Dave Smith interviewing Nick Fuentes? I didn't get to the entire.
Yes, I did. I did see that. Very interesting. Yeah,
they're always a great combo. I like that combo a lot. But they approach sympathy to Massie from very different places, but always a really productive conversation. I'm going to finish that one soon. But remember what the beautiful thing that they're really masterful with. In another life, if I had no conscience, I think this would be kind of fun. There's a multifariousness to disinfo, and that's part of what it does is it serves multifarious purposes, and that's because part of it is the repetition, and you push it on the stage, you stage hook it back off. They can push it back onto the stage. We're talking about aliens today, selectively, and I think this is all very carefully coordinated. They brought up the list, you know, two weeks before the alien list, the alien files, 2 weeks before the Massie thing, so they can control the info, get the story out there, get the talking points out there. Don't mess with Trump. Politics is a team sport, and then they can move on to talking about aliens. And that's what they'd been doing about 2 weeks ago. And so we're a little bit late on the story, but these days I tend toward liking to be a little late on stories. I'm reading this article called From 2021, this same drop, called Sorry, but it's probably not aliens, since we're back on that. What are the Navy pilots seeing in the skies? Let me just read. I don't know how much of this you got around to reading, Greg, but let me read the first 6 short paragraphs. Any day now, the intelligence community is going to release its unclassified report to Congress detailing everything it knows about the decades-old UFO phenomenon. In 2019, several U.S. Navy fighter pilots came forward to disclose encounters they experienced with unidentified flying objects while performing training missions off the U.S. East Coast in 2014 and 2015. These encounters directly mirror events involving the USS Nimitz and its air wing off the Baja coast in 2004, which is what especially interests me. And this article came out, I think, that week I was driving back in my trailer, and I heard that story that I was talking about. It says both events have their share of witnesses, from highly trained fighter pilots to crew members aboard the Ticonderoga class cruiser USS Princeton, and witnesses aboard an E-2C Hawkeye airborne early warning and control aircraft. These men and women represent some of the most credible observers of what the Navy is now calling the unidentified aerial phenomena, the UAPs. According to reporting by Tyler Rogaway of The Drive, the main revelation, this is the most important part, is that technology exists that is capable of performing flying maneuvers that shatter our perceptions of propulsion, flight controls, material science, and even physics itself. So the article goes on to discuss the Nimitz encounter in fall of 2004 with the Tic Tac, the UAP, proved that exotic technology that is widely thought of as the domain of science fiction actually exists. It is real. It isn't the result of altered perception, someone's lucid dream, a stray weather balloon, remember when they were saying that, or swamp gas. Someone or something has crossed the technological Rubicon and has obtained what some would call the holy grail of aerospace engineering. And then it goes on to saying, is this aliens or something else? Specifying this is probably not aliens. This is the U.S. government with a long, storied history from the 30s and 40s using the kind of cultural black legend about aliens and things like that to soft introduce disinformation where and when it's convenient about emergent military technologies. And I'll just say this, and Greg, I'll let you respond. So this story was so grabby to me, and my jaw felt like it hit the floor in 2021 when I was in my RV, precisely because I was in that exact area off the coast of Baja California, literally launching on a cruise ship with Steph. It was like a second honeymoon in October of 2005, somewhere between San Diego, where we launched from, and Encinitas, Mexico, which I've looked at it on a map, is exactly where these fighter pilots were saying that they saw these Tic Tac UFOs, UAPs. And it was about 1 at night. Steph and I had been hanging out, gambling. I don't think we'd been drinking or anything. We were out there playing shuffleboard, and there was one other couple out there, 1:30 at night, and we saw these things straightforwardly. No joke. No, my tongue is not planted in my cheek.
No lizard people.
No lizard people. We saw it. The angular velocity going from hovering through impossible turns to covering dozens, perhaps hundreds of angular miles in a fraction of a second, is precisely what they describe in this article and what they were describing over the sound power on the radio. And we were just, Steph and I couldn't believe it. We barely talked about it. We've talked about it some amongst ourselves, but we did talk about it with that couple. It was frightening. It was strange.
Kind of like the girl freak out thing, where at first I was like, "Oh, cool, what is that?" And then I was like, "I want to go inside now."
Yeah, you wanted to go inside. I'm like, I want to watch it. We watched it for 20 minutes, right?
Yeah,
we watched it for 20, 25 minutes.
For like 10 minutes longer than I was comfortable. I remember being like, I want to go inside the cabin now. And you were like, that makes no difference.
It's far away. Yeah. It was, we sat there for 20 to 25 minutes with that other couple, and we watched the most astounding thing I've ever seen that contradicts everything we know about like macroscopic Newtonian physics, what we know about what's possible, kinematically, dynamically. It was amazing. And I think we came home and we probably told you about it. Do you remember us having this experience?
Yeah, I do remember. I do remember you guys telling me about it. What I don't remember is that it was like 20 to 25 minutes in duration.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, so it was extended. It wasn't just a flash of light or a weird, weird kind of reflection or a light relic or something, or not a laser, but something of that nature. You think it was actually something there physically?
No, we were studying it. I don't know if it was a good holographic thing, then it was really good. But the point is, it was not something that, with your peripheral, you think you see. And I don't believe in aliens, by the way. That's the whole sort of bottom line to this all. It's not something we thought we saw. We were studying it. The other dude there in the other couple, his wife was scared too, but we were like, bro, like WTAF. And we were studying it, and we were pointing, and we were predicting where it would go next. And we were having
what was it doing? Like in terms of its like flight, its motion pattern?
It would like go like really fast. It would just like appear in different areas, like in like a split second. And you can tell, you probably explain this better, like that it would be like far away, and then all of a sudden be like super close. And then it would be like up and down, and it would just be moving in these really weird like trajectories that was like super duper fast, but it would be gaining, like when it was coming close, it would like gain in size like so quickly that it was like, at first I thought it was like a jumping fish or something. I was like when I first saw it, I was like, well, because it's hard to tell where the horizon is when it's in the middle of the ocean. It's like super dark, and like you only have the light of the cruise ship, like blaring off like the first like 5 feet in the water that's surrounding you. So I was trying to find just like where the horizon was, where the sea was. I was like, is this like a jumping fish? Like, is it like reflecting off of the cruise ship lights? Like, what is this? And it was just moving in such a bizarre, fast way, and you could tell it was just gaining so many, I don't know, miles like within a second. I was like, I had no context. I'd never seen anything move like that before, so I was like trying to like put it in a category that didn't exist.
Precisely. Yeah, it was impossible. We're talking instantaneous acceleration, hovering, non-propelled motion, like impossible turns. The article uses the term transmedium travel. I don't know how that can be witnessed. That's more imputed or adduced. But like synchronous travel across XYZ, and it was literally probably hundreds of angular miles, because it would be bigger and it would be coming in the Z direction. Hover there. It would hover for 10 seconds at a time, and then bounce around like a ping pong ball, and it would get smaller as a perspective matter because it was moving that way as well. And we're talking dozens, if not hundreds of miles traveled in under a second.
But the weird thing is,
it's
it's like
crazy.
Tic-tac.
On the videos that I've seen of like the released videos of aliens, I haven't seen anything move like that. Like
I have.
Oh, you
on
have?
the one that we saw on my phone while we were
They've
driving.
talked about the Tic Tac thing, right?
Yeah.
Off the coast of San Diego or Baja?
Yeah. This is their description that I'm borrowing, and I'm like, that is precise. And it's not only it's off of Baja. I mean, imagine. So we didn't know how to compartmentalize this. We just did. I think we told you. I've told some of my friends since, but I don't believe in aliens, so I'm just like, oh, it's government technology. Yeah, I wasn't as much a conspiracy theorist then. I've never liked the federal government, but I didn't know what to think about it, and I just sort of packed it away. But we're driving back on a cloudy afternoon. You're kind of cozy in your RV, traveling thousands of miles, because we came back to Mississippi from California the long way. I think we'd just done a gasoline stop. And this comes on, and it's the description is precise, what we saw and don't talk about frequently. The time period is exact. USS Nimitz thing was fall of 2004, but ever since they saw it on the USS Nimitz right at that location, I'm talking within 10 square miles on a map, I've looked. It was fall of the next year, 11 months later. We're talking November 2004 to October of 2005, which is when we saw it. And then, I looked into it, dug into it more, and it's like, yeah, there was a lot of sightings in 2005, curtailing in 2006. So it was like the exact spot off the Baja California coast. For people in the rest of the country, Baja California is not actually California. It's the Southern California Mexican peninsula. So we were south of the U.S.-Mexico border off the coast. And
like that's southwest of San Diego, basically south of San Diego.
Yeah. So that was one of the most, as bizarre as the experience was, seeing the UFO, that was odd. I don't know if I'm speaking for you too, Steffi, but a more memorable experience in my life is hearing the story described over the sound power on the radio in 2021.
Because then I got scared. It's almost like finding out this actually did happen to us a couple of vacations ago. We took the kids out on a boat at Orange Beach near here. What is it, in Alabama? And 3 days later, a woman was killed by a bull shark.
The day after we left.
Yeah, in the exact area that our kids were just playing in.
Yeah, you wrote me after that.
Yeah,
you said, "Oh, did you ever go there?" I was like, "We were there." Yes,
we were literally at that exact spot. It was
yeah, that's insane.
It's like that. We got that feeling because it's like a retrofitted fear where I was like, we heard this on the radio and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm terrified for myself in 2000.
It kind of makes your skin crawl, right? That feeling. I don't know if you guys saw this, but just talking about the shark really briefly. Did you see footage of that giant great white shark that was swimming right in the shallows off of the Pismo Pier? Pismo Beach, California, right out here. The giant great white. And there are surfers that are even farther out. It's right at near the breakers. It's got to be 100, 150 feet off the sand. Giant great white. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that video, but that's nuts.
I don't know how surfers do it, man. I get you could probably
I've been in those waters so many times. Yeah.
Well, I know.
I don't, that block, that you must have to be in the water every day. Although, it's not going to happen. But man, if you're in the water 300 days a year, if you live right there. Whew. Oh, is this it? Pismo?
I think this is Pismo.
Look at this. Yeah. Look at the size of that thing. I know this is not a shark show, but
no, it's the same
look
feeling.
At this. It's in 5 feet of water.
That thing is,
it's terrifying.
I've swam right there in those waters, right there. Avila, right down the road. Same thing.
How are they both why is there not a pool of brown around each of them?
Yeah, look, one of them still has his or her feet dangling off the board. What?
What in the world?
Yeah, surfers are wild, man. I get asked so often out here, "Are you a surfer?" I'm like, I'm not a good one because I just can't do it. I can't get in the water without worrying about sharks. I like skating and snowboarding, but surfing always scared me, not because of wiping out, which is a much more realistic danger, but sharks are realistic enough to keep me out of the water. And I have friends like Steve Rummelsberg, who comes on this show, that do surf 300 days a year. And it's I
know in all the wet methods, they tell you poke it in the eyeball or hit it on the snout. It's I don't know that my brain will be connecting those thoughts while I'm in its jaws.
Right.
I'm trying to
you're
fish
strategizing fight moves against a shark in the water.
Yeah.
It's where is a shark's eyeballs? Or the top of the head or the bottom? This is what I've been thinking of as this thing's chewing on my thigh. Are their eyeballs an inch from their mouth? Where is this thing's eyeballs?
Yeah, okay. He's
supposed
eating
to kick it in the groin.
Break its leg.
Yeah, that fear of going back, like that retroactive fear, it's a strange feeling. And yeah, that is very specific, your guys' experience, and then having it line up chronologically with the reports of these tic-tac bizarre motions. I don't know if it was up higher in the sky or if it was lower by the horizon, but I mean, that's fascinating that you guys had that firsthand experience. So to me, you can approach it with parsimony, and you can say, all right, well, what could be possible here? Could it be some alien craft or UAP, UFO, some strange otherworldly object? Yes, it's possible. But then the other possibility is, what if there was like a 1 to 2 year or even a briefer window where the Department of Defense or the Navy or the Army, whatever, Air Force, were testing advanced drone technology or advanced, something that doesn't operate like a traditional jet? What if they were doing a weapons testing program there offshore California in that specific time? So I'd start to put those into like categories and say, okay, yeah, it is a UAP, I guess, by definition, but is it like an otherworldly alien UFO, or is it like an Air Force or Department of Defense advanced drone program or advanced technology? And that's kind of how I would begin, like at least compartmentalizing it out.
Yeah.
And then we got to look for evidence. We got to look for more data. Like if that were a visitor from like outer space or like a Martian craft or whatever. This is my big thing in general with aliens too. I mean, tell me what you think, but advanced craft, even planes, even our relatively basic, jet aeroplanes going through the sky that tens of thousands of flights every day. They're emitting electromagnetic radiation all the time, radio waves and such, communications, all the electromagnetic signatures of how things work, of how energy propagates, from all these machines, from our computers, from radio towers, from all the equipment on board a plane or any kind of technology. So why do we have, to my knowledge, absolutely no record of electromagnetic perturbations, radio signals, any kind of signal, anything that's intelligibility, right? We'd be looking for that in these so-called beings that could fashion a craft and travel from outside the solar system, presumably from elsewhere within our galaxy. Why is there again, to go back to, why is there not a secondary line of evidence that intersects this line of evidence? So I'm not discounting anyone's lived experience or observations, certainly, but it's like, okay, it's either military tech or it could be like an alien UFO. So then if it's an alien UFO, I'm saying, okay, where are the radio signals? Where is the electromagnetic signal or breadcrumbs from this craft, from this technology? That's kind of how I approach it. In general with aliens, I'm like, okay, if they're coming from outside the galaxy and they're coming in advanced technology, how could they be electromagnetically completely quiet? Like no signals, no radio signals, no pulses, like nothing that we can detect. And so that's what I'm always kind of looking for, like additional evidence, additional data, right? To kind of, okay, let me try to steelman the claim here, if possible. Okay, to steelman it, we would be looking for breadcrumbs. We'd be looking for other evidence from these crafts, from this technology. It would be, how could they come in completely silently? We'd have to invoke some unknown physics,
Precisely. Well, the unknown physics has to get invoked either way. So I'm here before a crowd where there's the bias toward me because these are typically repeated listeners, and I'm saying whatever credibility I enjoy through the grace of God or whatever, that seems to be real. That the UAP thing is not fake. It's not disinfo. But as I mentioned before, the evidence that you're saying is lacking is part of a broader set of facts, as all disinformation always is. It's part of a broader set of facts, constellation of facts, and a broader set of uses that the government seems really able at trotting out. So what they do when it's disinformation is it always in the first place can cover for other stories. So it's got a surrogative function, right? Then what it really, primarily, I think what this covers for, the whole aliens thing back to, the 1940s and 50s, or Roswell is what decade? The 40s? is a cover for military.
Yeah, or the early
Is that
50s. Yeah,
early 50s. Okay, so in the
think.
first place, it's a cover for military tech. I think it's early 50s. But then if they're queuing up, and this is my sort of longer vision beyond short term or middle term. It's coming close now, 4 years away. Project 2030, all the estimates during COVID. I was big on this. I would do shows on it. A lot of the UN Project 2030 goals are supposed to be starting to be reached by 2027. And that would be now longer term coming into what would be the middle term. And it would accomplish this third goal if these are in fact UAPs. It's just military tech. You can bring them in and out of the news cycle to cover for other stories. You're mainly covering for military tech that people don't even understand how it works because the physics are altogether novel if it's presumably a drone, because like a human body simply can't make turns those fast. They can't pull that many G's. But
yeah, and we might be, not to interrupt your train of thought there, but we might be looking at some kind of anti-gravity technology, or, you know, quote, anti-gravity, but or using reversal of gravity basically as a propulsion device. And I don't know much about the tech, but people are talking about this like in non-alien aspects, like from the government. So
really,
yeah.
Okay, that's got to be what it is, because it's not traditional aerodynamics and propulsion. It's not
Bernoulli's principle and lift and whatnot, differences in pressure, you know, when you're streamlining, and exactly, it'd be a very different principle.
It's kind of like the hard line distinction between watching like a Tesla versus a naturally aspirated engine. A naturally aspirated engine in a really fast street car is impressive because it's operating on the old rules. Whereas Tesla, it's like, okay, 1.8 seconds, 0 to 60. That's not even impressive because you're not operating on the old macroscopic rule. I mean, there's still Newtonian rules of physics, but if we're thinking
the new Corvette ZR1X, have you seen that thing? That's amazing. It can beat a Tesla off the line.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Naturally aspirated. Yeah.
Yes.
No,
well, and it's got twin turbochargers and whatnot. It does have I think an electric motor on the front wheels, I believe. It kicks in like 180 or 150, 180 horsepower, but it's like 1200 horsepower, I think. Absolutely awesome.
Oh, never mind. Okay, so I thought it was all 100% natural. But you see the that's just to revisit the phenomenological intake. Our experience was like, that's not normal movement. That's not propulsion in any.
Exactly.
We have the categories for, but
yes.
But so the main thing would be that in addition to covering other stories, covering up for military tech, this kind of psyop would be usable because they're playing on, I guess, cultural fascination with aliens. And I wanted to introduce what is Project Bluebeam and how could it be weaponized? Is it being weaponized as a kind of second COVID run to implement Agenda 2030, remember bug eating and all that? That was really big. Smart cities. I do believe that's real. I don't think that's for dummies that believe in reptilians. So I wanted to read to you guys just the basics of what Project Bluebeam is, and it's been a fascination of mine for a long time. Actually, it's a fake alien invasion that would be used to create a one world government setup and a new world order setup. And much like where it looked like COVID was going, though they were testing the waters and they were getting more pushback than they thought they would. And it would involve religious elements mixed with alien elements. There's a lot of different iterations of what Project Bluebeam is, but it's a conspiracy and it's a theory that claims governments, global elites of the Dr. Evil sort, remember, remember when Klaus Schwab would come out and he'd always, in 2020 and 2019, he'd always have a newer, even spacier looking Dr. Evil outfit.
Like some Star Trek character. Yeah.
A Trek guy, like the eccentric billionaire from Contact that ends up funding Jodie Foster. It would also involve secret organizations who plan to use hyper advanced technology. How familiar does this sound? Such as holograms, satellites, mind control, staged supernatural events, also using new computer graphics, and military technologies that we don't even know they have. So this is highly plausible. So you have the means, motive, opportunity to create a fake global religious / alien event in order to establish one world government, which they seem pretty openly to want to do by March of 2020, April of 2020. And we're pretty obviously surprised how much pushback they got with vax deniers and all. And so they're constantly adjusting. And I think Bluebeam in some iteration is a really, really reasonable explanation as the sort of, the trifecta, the 3-part use of the specific alien psyop and disinformation conveyance of the psyop. Cover up for other stories, bring it in and out as you need. Trump's potential molester guy maybe on Epstein Island. Okay, we got to get that out of the news. Bring in aliens. Then we'll introduce it for a weekend news cycle, and then we'll shift it out for 2 months, and we won't talk about it. Then we'll bring it in for the elections if we need to substitute. It's always covering for military tech. That's a sort of formal cause. And then the big goal, kind of final end game, would be this religious alien, modus for introducing a need or an emergency upon which you could only have a global scaled solution or rehabilitation. I think it's very plausible. I like the Project Bluebeam theory a lot. Greg, I don't know what you think about it or have thought about it. I've been really into it for 5 years, and it doesn't surprise me the more that they talk about aliens.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know that much about it, but beginning to look into it, I'll admit, so I approach it skeptically, right? And as I learn more as I read about it and the different elements that are claimed with it, it's like a fantastical thing, right? Like holographic images, the end of the world, a fake alien invasion, even artificially engineered earthquakes, exposing alleged archaeological evidence for something. But basically, if I understand it correctly, it would be like freaking people out, even with false or like fake religious appearances of different false gods or whatever, or different deities or what have you, basically trying to freak everybody out. So they're essentially, I guess, begging for some kind of protector state or some kind of global governance, I think is kind of the general theme. And yeah, so I admit that I'm skeptical about that as one giant operating, kind of cohesive effort. However, I think all the pieces of that, or many of the pieces of that, are there. Maybe not with the engineered earthquakes so much, or the holograms in space, or whatever, space lasers, sharks with lasers. But a lot of, I think it takes people's fears that have basically been stoked and maybe are justified. People's fears about being manipulated by global elites and big government, which we've seen that. We've had the scales fall from our eyes. And we've seen it in 2020, right? We all witnessed that. And I think a lot of us learned like, whoa, there is a lot more to this, and maybe even more coordination than we ever thought before. I'm a pretty careful guy. I like to demand evidence. I don't like to go half-cocked, crazy down it's lizard people, or it's this religious group, controlling the world and all that. I don't like to do that. I like to be very careful, very parsimonious, right? However, after March 2020, and even a few months before that, but after what started in earnest in March of 2020, we have seen, essentially global tyranny pushed. And we saw it radically alter our lives, our children's lives, radically alter society. And we saw the just millions and millions of our fellow countrymen, and billions of people around the world taken over by fear, billions of people who are willing to destroy your liberty, to take away your liberty, just to add a slightly higher percentage chance that they might survive something that turned out to be completely age stratified, which we saw in the data from day one, by the way. I was writing articles about it. But what we witnessed was horrifying, and it did change a lot of our minds. It actually really red-pilled or woke a lot of people up, I think, as it should have. So, yeah, I mean, Project Bluebeam as an intact, cohesive effort, you know, I might initially kind of roll my eyes at it and say, oh, yeah, how would they ever do that with like space lasers and holograms and engineered earthquakes? But we've seen this now with the virus, with COVID, with pangolin theory, and we know that they're not done, that for some reason there is a cabal or group of people in secret or in the open who do want to control our behaviors. It's not a conspiracy theory. They do want to control what you eat, famously. Eat bugs, not beef. Really? You're so worried about, you know, cow flatulence? Really? Is that what it is? Or they so care about your health, allegedly. Take the vax, get injected. Hey, are your kids getting this on the schedule? Have they gotten all 72 of their injections? That's crazy, right? So we've got diet. They care about your health, allegedly. Vaccination. They care about your carbon footprint. Are you throwing your trash away the right way? In some cities, you're mandatorily forced to compost your garbage and banana peels and stuff like that, right? So it seems like a crazy conspiracy theory, and I might not buy all like the lasers and the holograms and all that, or the Pink Floyd flying pig, but reining myself back in, they do want to control every aspect of your lives, and they don't like nationalism, and they hate local control. So at the end of the day, too, you've got to remember, be involved locally, be involved at your state level, and be a nationalist, because they hate that. It's like a bulwark against what they want to do. So I guess I kind of have mixed feelings, and I'm awaiting more evidence. Elements of this, or parts of this, bits and pieces, are, I guess, believable now after what we witnessed in 2020, 2021. And we always wonder, right, what's the next one going to be? Are they really going to try it with like Ebola? Are they going to try it with like hantavirus, right? And what you were saying earlier, what we've been talking about kind of putting stuff out there, the disinformation, then reeling it back in, then mixing it with real information, then kind of reeling that back, right? Classic. We see it all the time. Hantavirus is a real thing. Is it a global pandemic? No. It's something like I had to worry about, like when you go camping. We used to go to like Curry Village in Yosemite, where they had dusty like rat droppings in some of the older like tents or the cabins, right? Or the yurts. Weird stuff like that, where it's like, oh, hantavirus is it's kind of a weird like boutique virus that you get when in like a dusty warehouse or if you're camping. But they kind of took that one and they're trying, it's like you can detect, you have this spidey sense that goes off. Like, are they trying to kind of like push this as maybe the next one? And they're feeling us out. Like, are we going to freak out about hantavirus or Ebola? You know, Ebola's another one where it's like, well, Ebola's, it's not a respiratory virus. It's not super transmissible. Just stay away from bodily fluids and blood. No problem. But, you know, they put this out there with the press. And I don't know if it's the CDC or the NIH, but with the media. And they do kind of float these things out there that sound plausible. And then you're like, well, wait, isn't that a real thing? Or hantavirus? Isn't Ebola? Yeah, Ebola is a real thing. What do you mean a new strain? What strains are going on? Well, as it turns out, there's always probably like 200 people in the world that have Ebola, right? But the question is, which one is going to get amplified into the next thing with a capital T?
Sure.
And so, long story short, I can believe elements of this thing. It's the global conspiracy that with the Dr. Evil and the spacesuit. Klaus Schwab was taken out, I guess, with some of Massie's releases. God bless him, Thomas Massie. But I'm always like, wow, if it's a global conspiracy, how do they keep it so taut? How do they keep it so tight and secretive? I don't know. I'm always open to new evidence, you know?
I would say remember three things or four things. There's three or four parts of this. Number one, there's World Economic Forum paper on the record right now, called The Great Reset. It's got economic development, economic sustainment development goals that are on the record right now. Stuff that is seemingly unconnected, like pushing female sports really hard. Part of their development goals that they're pushing really hard. Just if you watch basketball, a bunch of the other goals seemingly unrelated are they're moving toward it right now. You will own nothing and you will be happy. This is a expression by the World Economic Forum.
Sure.
There's a guy that rolled out the paper. His last name is Ayukin. He's like Norwegian or something, and he
not on Street Fighter.
What is it? Hadouken?
It sounds more like Ayukin as he throws a dragon punch.
There you are.
He's saying in 2030, of course, this is the goal of private weirdos and billionaires and interest groups. You'll own nothing. You'll be happy. They've more explicitly connected the WEF this to smart cities, eating bugs. Smart pods is where people will live. They have a number of kids. If you read The Great Reset, it's really scary. And this is they say that they're continuing apace on this. So this is not. I don't think that's a psyop.
No, you're right. A lot of this stuff has come to pass. And by the way, in every suburb now in the U.S., every upscale suburb, every gentrified inner city, like cool hipster spot, you notice, just talking about UN and this Agenda 2030 and all the sustainable development goals, all this bullshit, you notice that in every community of any kind of privilege now, you've got these cutesy shops on the first floor and then second and third story lofts, which, okay, that's kind of cool if you're a young person, you want to live in like an urban environment, even in the suburbs. But so I'm not saying it's inherently evil or wrong or anything like that. I like a bakery on the first floor, above what apartments with above there. But yeah, just to amplify or underscore what you're saying, this stuff was pushed by the UN, high density or urban and suburban living, having shops below and then living spaces above, stack people vertically. They have altered our suburbs here in the United States, certainly altered our inner cities. That started more than 30 years ago. But you notice this in your suburbs. For all your listeners, like, where do you guys live? Rhetorically, go look at the cutesy parts of your suburban area, or certainly your urban environment. You're going to notice that these UN goals are expressed right there. So I agree with you. Yeah, the footprint, the fingerprint is everywhere for these goals. They're real. Now, diet, economics, your town, your zoning. Zoning is a big one, right? That's undeniable. That's been a major fingerprint. So I just to underscore that point, I fully agree with that.
But the second thing that, again, this gets spectacular, and people might be too far removed from a lot of folks out there are, a lot of folks out there aren't. Probably in this audience, it might be 50-50, might be too far removed from the unbelievable wave of just things we never thought could happen that happened in 2019, 2020, 2021. But this is also the time period where I became very, very familiar with the work of Myron Fagan on the Council on Foreign Relations and what the Council on Foreign Relations was, as well as the State Department. And I have friends who I'm not going to name them, who are well-known lawyers in the State Department. And what they told me is this, and this is all you hear: there are no atheists in power. There are no atheists in the State Department. They're not Christian, but there are no atheists. My friend, who's a well-known lawyer in the State Department, told me that he hung a crucifix, and Kathleen Sebelius, remember her, came in and like hissed at it. And he said she's known for being a witch. He's like, it's an open secret.
Really?
Yeah. She came in and he said she did a hissing sound. This is a smart lawyer guy. He's not a household name, but he'd be well known, probably even to you, Greg. Mutual friend I had was Steve Skojic at the time. She came in and she hissed at his thing. He said, "Look, dude, I was talking to him on the phone when I was moving out here, and COVID was in full force. There are no atheists here, whether you're talking Hillary Clinton, Huma Abedin, Frazzle Drip. I don't know what you think about all these things like Frazzle Drip, Anthony Weiner's laptop, the adventures of Carlos Danger, any of the stuff that we used to laugh at because it's funny, Anthony Weiner and what ended up happening to him. Without the dark side and what these people are doing, it's really funny stuff. But then 2016 happens, Marina Abramovich, you learn about what the Council on Foreign Relations are. I mean, everyone go Google Council on Foreign Relations now and look how many Hollywood people there are. Look how many Israeli agents are in the Council on Foreign Relations openly. In addition to well-known folks like Kathleen Sebelius or Hillary Clinton or Huma Abedin. And then I've said, that I'm quite frankly, Jay Dyer and I are going to do an episode where we stream the audio version of Myron Fagan's record. It was a record on the Council on Foreign Relations, and it's open Illuminism. And it's amazing stuff. And Myron Fagan he brings all the receipts. Listening to that is one of my life-changing moments, honestly, in terms of believing in this stuff. So there aren't atheists in the State Department. There aren't atheists in the CFR. These, the men and women are open witches. And so when you see weirdos like Klaus Schwab come out, whereas in the 90s or early aughts, I just thought, people get weird when they get lots of money. They become eccentric millionaires, billionaires. They're all part of a club, and none of us are in it, like George Carlin said. And so when they a big part of how Illuminism works is it's called revelation of the method. And I think Tucker was talking about this. I've known about revelation of the method from a number of friends that were really interested in this. Nick Stumphauser's the one that really showed us a lot of the material on it. Part of what they do is they have to reveal a lot of it because they have to hide in plain sight so that it just gets compartmentalized away as, frazzle drip. Well, that's weird. Everyone knows Hillary Clinton's kind of a witch, but does she actually engage in cannibalism? Well, no one can prove it, though. There's this black legend. No one can do anything, even when she's having these weird bits of evidence emerge. So I would just
say she drink adrenochrome?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The adrenochrome bits she was getting. I don't believe in reptilians, but there is a lot of weird stuff that people are putting in their long-term memory and not thinking about from 2020. And
that guy back there is not real, lady.
Yeah, that mofo is not real. Whatever her name was, Ashley Babbitt or something. Yeah. There's just a lot of that.
Ashley Babbitt was murdered January 6th, but the person on the plane.
Yeah, the lady on the plane.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. No, remember that? I was just someone. She's a meme now, and I don't know. What are those guys doing? I hope they're all right. Whatever happened to that guy? Yeah, I'm just saying. The Council on Foreign Relations is astounding stuff. World Economic Forum is astounding stuff. Event 201, which happened on October the 18th, 2019. You can go listen to the recordings. They were only dealing in, and this is before this is 2 months before even they started rolling the fake video of people dropping dead in China in mid-December here in North America. I've listened to the hearings, quite frankly, sent them to me. They're astounding. They had 9 parties there. It was our Department of Health, China's Department of Health, Johnson & Johnson, and then all the insurance companies. And all they were dealing in when they were war gaming out, how would we deal with a bird flu pandemic kind of situation is how will we deal on Twitter with the whole thing was war gaming. How will we deal on Twitter with vaccine deniers? They weren't trying to help get food, water, electricity, shelter, rehabilitation to people who are in need. It was all how do we shut down deniers? And that's what they war game out. And it's all public access stuff. So I would say that the World Economic Forum is in the know. There is a relatively well organized. They're not impervious to pushback, but they're relatively well organized because they're incredibly well funded. Sort of global class as the second thing to remember that's been going on as an open conspiracy that's always existed since the Open Conspiracy was a text published by the Rockefeller group, alongside population control and Malthusianism. So that's always their big game, is population control, Malthusianism. Bill Gates saying, if we play these numbers right, we can bring that number of human beings on Earth down to whatever 2 billion by whatever year. They openly plan to hurt humans and to kill humans. And
Paul Ehrlich, the population bomb, and let's put contraceptives and various weird hormones into the water supply. It sounds like kooky tinfoil hat stuff, right? But it's like, no, it's all right in the open. They wrote about this. Oh, and by the way, if we care about like actual results or the scoreboard receipts, they're all wrong. Paul Ehrlich was completely wrong. These neo-Malthusians are always wrong. They're completely wrong. And that needs to be remembered. Now he's gone to his great reward or whatever, but we still need to trot his memory back out. Or even a Bill Gates, whoever it is, an Ehrlich, a Bill Gates. All these figures need to be pilloried. They need to be mocked, and they need to be made an example of, because what they're saying, it might sound kind of like smiley face, like, oh, that's weird. That guy, he's really concerned about vaccines. He's really concerned about helping poor children in Africa. But it's like, no, at the heart of it, they want fewer human beings to be born. And they literally think there are too many people on the planet. And they're not just saying, oh, in the future, wouldn't it be great if all women were to have, one baby apiece? Well, check. We're already there in South Korea, Japan, even parts of the US. That's not all they're saying. The creepy part is, oh my gosh, they're saying we're going to change the procreation patterns of people who are alive right now. We're changing things with people today. And then it can lead to these conspiracies, and you wonder, okay, how kooky is this stuff actually? Because read what they're actually saying. Read what they wanted to do. Put chemicals in the water? Well, yeah, that's Paul Ehrlich and his ilk. It isn't some kook that listens to Alex Jones. God bless him. Alex Jones, a true patriot. It's not just Alex Jones screaming about it with the frogs and the water supply and fluoride. It's like, no, it's them. It's not you, or it's not us, it's them.
Yeah. It's not Alex Jones, it's them. The frogs were turned gay, bro. And I just, it doesn't work anymore to say that all of this stuff is kooky, like flat earth or reptilians or whatever. The WEF has...
The earth is round. Yeah, I'm saying it. Let's just be careful about things. I can look at the WF. We can look at Bill Gates and say, that ain't right. Something here is weird. Or the pangolin theory. Pangolin. Yeah, that ain't right. That's weird. By the way, just a reminder to all of us, with good old Trump, the Trump DOJ just let the statute of limitations effectively run out on Fauci, the tyrant. So now Fauci can't be prosecuted for specific crimes for the COVID tyranny or whatever. So way to go. That was what, 2 weeks ago, I think, something like that. Yeah, just another L.
I forgot
right there.
Yeah. An intentional L, or he was clearly blackmailed by.
I think they purposely screwed up the Comey thing. I think they intentionally had what was it, Lindsay Halligan or whatever. I think they're all lawyers. They're all allegedly smart. They know the law. I think they screwed that up intentionally. And now they're going back with this lie about, let's prosecute him for the stupid seashells. It's idiotic. He can't be prosecuted for the seashell meme. They let him go on the real thing that he should be prosecuted for.
Right. Precisely. I would say that, well, again, before I move on, I want to remind people of something. So Father Malachi Martin, who this audience is well accustomed to hearing me talk about, I've had an favorably expanding view on Father Martin, the late Father Martin, over the last 7 years. Greg, have you read Windswept House?
No, I need to. It's on my list.
It's fascinating. Did you know, a lot of people don't know, that in 1997, when that book was published, Klaus Schwab is one of the minor characters among the Satan. Klaus Schwab
Wow.
is. When me and Frank, we did a reading group with Quite Frankly's people, and we both saw on the, because it's fact fiction, you know, so there's this key you can go look at, and you know, of course, the main villain in the book. There are several villains in this satanic cadre of deep church people as they interact with the deep state before we even knew what either deep church or deep state meant. And you know, the main bad guy is the Chicago Archbishop, who, you know, Pope Leo has multiple times told us he considers himself in that lineage. What's his name? Bernardin. Bernardin's the main villain there. Yeah, Cardinal Bernardin, then Cardinal Supich, and of course, Prevost said, I'm in this lineage of great Chicago Cardinals, Bernardin to Supich to myself, but Klaus Schwab is in the satanic cadre and appears, he's head of the WEF.
Wow. By name? He's mentioned by name? Or is it a similar character?
He's in the key. He's in the key that people have put together. No, I mean, a lot of the names rhyme with the real guy's name. You know, it's a faction key. So, Steffi, can you find that faction, the Windswept House character key? Really fascinating stuff. So obviously there's a character who is basically every one of the St. Gallen Mafia people 20 years before we would know who the Gallen Mafia are. There's Pope John Paul II, there's Ratzinger, there's Klaus Schwab, there's there's Rockefeller. So it's all
extensive.
It's extensive.
Wow.
What Father Martin had, and I was actually just texting with Father Martin's best friend earlier today. You know, we've become friends as well, and he's been on the show, and he's going to come back on the show. But the Rob Morrow. The point is that this stuff has been called, you know, ahead of time. There have been calls made. They've called out their shots in, you know, the late 90s when I still didn't have a clue, when this was a sparkle in my eye. So that's something to remember, that there's just a lot. You know, you and I had I think a AM radio show in Bakersfield in 2006, was it, Greg?
Yeah, it rocketed us to our current fame. It gave us that propulsion that we needed, right? Yeah, 2005, 2006.
Yeah, 6, I think. Maybe it was 5. But back then we were still making jokes about, you know, Anthony Weiner's lap type. We were like, well, let's make jokes about his phallic last name. It's like, but these guys run the world. These guys are not atheists. These guys are all witches. It's stuff that we had no clue about back then. That's super dark stuff. You know, Clinton Foundation. It's just super dark. That red pilled a lot of people. That brought a lot of people back to faith. I mean, who you know, Clinton staffers in leaked emails, remember going like, I'm going to go sacrifice a chicken in the backyard right now to Moloch, stuff like that, like real stuff. And so that stuff is just hard to, I want to keep that toward the front of people's mind, because we're still in a pre-2030 world, and we don't know what's going to happen. And it's not just Democrats versus Republicans. Israel has a big role in it all. And I think the alien story has been hovering around, no pun intended, and they're going to reintroduce it every so often, as they have over the last 5 years, because it can be used in multifarious ways to push the story forward. But the third thing, that the real thrust of the argument presented by this article I was reading, where they present the argument against alien visitors, is they say, remember, since 1947, it's been well known, not only in the intelligence community, that there is something called the black budget. The United States has been pouring tens of billions of dollars a year into the so-called black budget since 47. The budget funds black projects that are classified top secret, not itemized, and are used for intelligence operations and super secret advanced military technologies. In fact, as of March 2019, President Trump announced a record-breaking $86 billion for the black budget for that fiscal year. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. There's a lot that could happen with that.
So much. I mean, $86 billion is like more than the GDP in 1950. you know, and that's all going into super secret stuff that we never get to peek at. There's a club and we ain't in it, and it's all these non-atheist, non-Christian witch doctor intel community high ups in the military. This guy said
Enlightenment, Freemasonic, right? All these things that, I mean, it's been going on since Nixon and the Great Owl, you know, and Bohemian Grove and all this stuff that we always look at, or at least I always looked at skeptically. I kind of rolled my eyes like, okay, what is this? Is it Alex Jones conspiracy stuff? But here's the question. And I think, and you were getting to that, you were discussing it, or at least maybe getting to it. The question is, we know that these people go through the weird rituals, whether they're Freemasons or the Bohemian Grove stuff, or the weird quasi-religious imagery, the very, very strange and disturbing artwork that they decorate their homes with, a la Podesta, disgusting, vile, all of this stuff that's kind of put right out there. That's not really a true secret, right? The Freemasonic rituals and all that, like, what is that? Rosicrucians, all this stuff. Okay, we know that they're kind of going through the motions and doing that again. But the question we always come back to, and it comes back up, it's coming up today, it's, do they believe it? Are they really believers in the dark arts, the occult, the Freemasonic stuff, all of this creepy stuff? Do they really believe it? Are they really satanic? Are they trying to summon dark forces? Or is it some kind of weird like play or initiation rite or ritual? I don't know. I find all of it disturbing. Either way, it's disturbing. But I don't know. Do you have thoughts on this? Like, are they true believers? Do they truly believe in the occult? Or is it some weird play? Is it some acting out ritual that they all go through to kind of like, you know, it's like the secret handshake to get into the club. It's a lot of elite, rich, powerful people, to be sure. But do they actually believe this weird stuff? And what is with these disturbing images? Like, what is that? Who would put that out, you know, in a magazine saying, hey, here's my art collection? And it's disgusting, vile images of little children and just terrible things I don't even want to speak about. Like, what is that? Do they truly believe this stuff? Or is it some weird initiation rite?
We have some of that artwork on the screen right now. And again, this is just what Greg said is exactly right. And it's pretty well known, his art collection. One of them particularly on the screen is, I think it's like a recreation of one of Dahmer's victims. Dahmer's first victim. Yeah. Tony Podesta and his wife are super proud of their chandelier. Like chandelier. And then there's this weird, Patricia Pacini does this weird like art with like little kids. It's aliens. It's really odd stuff.
Very disturbing.
Super weird. Like what? I mean, it's like only a sick mind would even come up with this, and an even sicker mind than the person who came up with it would buy that and put it in their house.
Well, to answer your question, Greg, this is one that I'm not a maybe on. I'm all in on. It's not performance art. If you guys remember, my real red pill moment was, it's two names: Marina Abramovich and James Oliphant. Yeah, the spirit cooking is absolutely real. I mean, when you look at the Podesta brothers, who were not trying to in some disinfo way confuse people or start a black legend about themselves. There's reasons that maybe you might think pretextually they would benefit by doing that. Disinfo can be counterintuitive. This was an information leak. Remember WikiLeaks and why Trump won in 2016. It was because of the WikiLeaks thing 6 days before the election of 2016. And I was finding out that the Podesta brothers, Hillary Clinton, all had this known Satanist, Marina Abramovich, to their house to do seances, aka spirit cooking. She also directed. She's a major consult in Hollywood videos and movies. When Lady Gaga did a video swallowing a rosary, that was Lady Gaga. She's incredibly that was Marina Abramovich. She's incredibly important. Coincided with so-called Pizzagate, which was never debunked. The debunks were hilarious. There was like the equivalent of your Die Bart Die tattoo on your chest and saying, well, there's nothing weird here. That means die Bart die in German. you know, from Simpsons season 4, that they never debunked it. The guy, James Alefantis, I think this is where all of your interrogation comes to a meaningful point. Is it just weirdo people with too much time and money on their hands? No, because like Dr. Faustus, a lot of folks like, namely James Alefantis, a high school dropout who comes from a poor family, is listed as a top 30 most influential Washington, D.C. donor, one of the closest friends of the Clintons, one of the closest friends of the Podestas. And by his own, I've looked at his Twitter account or screenshots of his Twitter account. He had something called the Kill Room in his pizza place, where weird adult, powerful Congress people and government officials would congregate and watch this pedo band play called Heavy Breathing. And I've also watched videos of this band. So it's all too real. And
is this allegedly in Comet Pizza in Colorama and in DC, in that neighborhood?
Yep. Yeah. Comet Pizza. Yeah. The Kill Room is a real thing. The underground tunnels are a real thing. You know, my friend.
Because I'll admit, I've always been, sorry, I was going to say, I've always been skeptical. And I think, I don't know what's actually going on in Comet Pizza, or I don't know if that was like an internet meme. And I know there was a lot of people that really were invested in that. But if nothing else, I think what we've seen, even with the release of some of the Epstein material, as horrible as it is, you've got 3 million files now. And thanks largely to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie and patriots like that, some of this has actually come to light. But the code words, I always thought pizza was maybe a disgusting code word that they were using. What, pizza and grape juice or whatever shows up over and over again. And it's more than a coincidence. It's not just for conspiracy theorists. That's what I was thinking. Like with the pizza thing, is it some disgusting code word for abuse material or what they were doing to underage people, horrible crimes?
Yeah.
So yeah, on the Comet Pizza thing, it's like I'd always heard that, but I never knew, like, is that literally a thing, or did someone's imagination kind of go wild? Like there are actually horrible things happening in the basement of this pizza place in a neighborhood of DC. I don't know.
FBI's verified that the pizza related maps, whether a map is it's barely code word. Pizza is a code word. Hot dogs. You know, Obama also in that 2016 email file dump, we flew in $80,000 of hot dogs for the weekend. That's a lot of hot dogs. It's terrible stuff. James Alefantis, there's tons of screenshots out there. This is before AI was super popular, of him threatening. I'm a viewer of the show who's since converted to Catholicism. What's up, Mouthy Buddha? Mouthy Buddha did the best, most convincing online doc on Pizzagate. What's up, Mouthy Buddha? I correspond with him often now, but I was red pilled by that guy in 2016. I mean, even the what's her name, Madeleine McCann.
The disappearance of Madeleine McCann.
The disappearance of Madeleine McCann. 2 blocks from Sigmund Freud's great nephew, where the who's a known pedophile. That's where Madeleine McCann was taken from her hotel room. John and Tony Podesta were staying at Freud's grandnephew that night. That's a real FBI description of the 2 suspects seen near there. Can you get that photo up?
Yeah, so this is on the screen is like who they saw near them, near there, and then this is the Podesta brothers. So
we're going back and forth between the aliens and this, but it's all the same group. And yeah, this is the real sketch of the Podesta. It doesn't name them as the Podesta brothers, but they were known to be there 2 blocks from where Madeleine McCann went missing.
Was this in Europe or England or somewhere?
Portugal.
Yeah.
There's a little seaside town in Portugal. And it's all verified. This is all stuff. I run all this past, quite frankly, Jay Dyer, my friends who actually make fun of people that believe in the reptilian people. This is absolutely real. And like with Epstein, big groups in the power players like Netflix sanitize it. So I remember when Steph and I watched a Madeleine McCann documentary, it goes through all the potential players. It doesn't mention the Podestas once. And this very well-known FBI sketch of the two only suspects that were actually seen on hand, who are known to be there that night with Freud's absolutely villainous great-grandnephew staying at his mansion right there. It's unbelievable stuff. Then you're talking about the Podesta's art collection. A bunch of it is
what is that
stuff? It's not. Yeah, that's not. I don't think that's.
Is it a limited hangout? I mean, what is that to have such a disturbing and disgusting collection of art? To invite like one of these like House and Home, Designer Home magazines in for a puff piece photo shoot. What is that? What is that to put it on full display? Is it disinformation? Are they trying to somehow, like look at this hand while the other hand's doing something different? Like, what is the misdirection there? Or are they trying to create aura around themselves? Is it for political clout or power? I wonder, or are they literally that disgusting and evil? Which is a distinct possibility. It wouldn't surprise me. But these are the questions that I ask when you see something right there in front of your face, like that disturbing art collection, right? Like, What is that?
Yeah.
Do they? I go back to, do they really believe this stuff? Do they really believe in the rituals? Do they really believe in the darkness and the evil spirits? Or is it misdirection? Is it misinformation? Limited hangout type stuff?
Well, the dark side is, as we all know from Star Wars Episode 3, is a path to powers that some would call unnatural. I think that's all it is. It's Faustian bargain stuff, and that I've been all in on for 10 years or so. That it's not just for people who are currently very powerful billionaires. That's the other thing. My friends who have spent time in Hollywood, everyone knows that there are things you do. You join the club. And it's real ritual. It's not pretend ritual. So that I have to like rewind to even my thinking in 2016 to get to a place where I'm like, well, is this like skull and bones? To be a bones man, you have to lay in a coffin. And I mean, I have friends now, new friends I've made that are have been recruited. Everyone into CIA, FBI, the intel agencies are all infiltrated. It's not just Council on Foreign Relations. Myron Fagan was talking about this stuff in the early 60s. And it all relates to one country in the Middle East that begins with an I. And it all relates to Talmudic ritual, that basically amounts to what we would call Masonry, Illuminati. And have you ever heard that Myron Fagan thing? I'll link it.
No, I haven't.
Oh,
is that something that would be on like YouTube?
It's on YouTube. It gets taken down every once in a while, and then they put it back up. It's the record of Myron Fagan. I listen to it like everything else on 1.5 speed. It's a 3-hour, 15-minute thing. It explains it explains everything. Myron Fagan puts it all together, and it's probably the most worldview altering piece of content I've ever heard on YouTube. So everyone out there should go to it. We'll link it in the thing.
A few super chats. I think question for Greg.
Okay. Question for Greg. Let me read this last piece, because I don't believe in aliens. I literally believe anthropologically.
I don't believe in aliens either. Yeah, I know we've covered a lot of ground here today, and I mean, it's good. It's a fun conversation. It just kind of evolved organically, but yeah, I don't believe in aliens, and I do believe that the Earth is round, and I believe the Earth is more than 4 billion years old.
Me too.
I believe in God. So I just want to wrap that all in.
Yeah, the kind of Nicaea Constantinopolitan creed of what we're positing here. But the guy that wrote this article was saying no, UAPs are real, but aliens are not. He said, while I was in the U.S., this is the last thing paragraph I wanted to read from the thing. While I was in the U.S. Air Force in 2005, I had the opportunity to chat with a visiting employee from Skunk Works, Lockheed Martin's advanced development programs. When I jokingly asked him what he was working on, not expecting a true response, he became very serious and said, "All I can tell you, Wes, is that Star Wars isn't just a movie. Remembering this conversation years later still makes me giddy with excitement about our troops wielding lightsabers in combat. However, it is much more likely he was referring to advances in aerospace engineering. Later, in an interview with Popular Mechanics, the late Skunkworks chief, Ben Rich, said, "There are some new programs, and there are certain things, some of them 20 or 30 years old, that are still breakthroughs and appropriate to keep quiet about because other people don't have them yet. Things like UAPs that can move in physically heretofore unimaginable ways that are real, while humanoids from, hundreds of thousands of light years away or millions of light years away I don't believe are. And I don't believe theologically can be. So I'm just saying it all goes together. A lot of it sounds wacky. Everything we've talked about today sounds wacky, but much of it is demonstrated by now. And it goes together to prove that other things that sound wacky are strictly fictitious. And that's, and then this article goes on to talk about disinformation campaigns by the U.S. Air Force and Pentagon. And they have their long storied history of performing disinformation campaigns using the deep pop culture roots of UFOs in America to hide advances in aerospace technology. But if they're that's
what I think a lot of it is. And going back, I think Roswell is actually 1947. I think I said 51 earlier, just to correct that mistake. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think a lot of the UAP stuff, for me personally, I still fall under it's disinformation or it's limited hangout stuff or whatever to try to cover for advanced weapons programs. That's still kind of where I land on it.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. But they use it and they cover, it's let's use this and make it scalable. As intelligence community people say, let's make it scalable for across 2, 3, 4 purposes. And they, you gotta, hats off to the enemy. You got to know the enemy. They're really good at making catastrophes scalable and useful across a few different purposes. What was the how many super chats?
Just a few super chats. So Shorts said, "Dear Dr. Greg, we've got a group of young adults, some with geology background, some are hikers. We can text him our address. Could you recommend travel sites to see the evidence that supports old Earth?"
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. Evidence is all around us, even starting with the Grand Canyon, the great unconformity, which unconformity basically, these in the geologic or stratigraphic record indicate, with different angles of the rocks and then different ages of the rocks, we can actually deduce, we can figure out and induce the amount of missing ages. So the Earth must have reconfigured in between deposition of one layer of rock and deposition of another. So Grand Canyon is a great place. Yeah, Steph's got unconformities up on the screen. Grand Canyon, wonderful natural laboratory, but all across the Western U.S., which I know the geology well, there are places where there are desert dune deposits overlain by marine deposits, clearly. Multiple lines of evidence that help us get to, what's a desert dune deposit? Well, Zion National Park, those are basically old dunes. Much of the Southwest are Permian to Triassic desert dune fields, clearly on land, subaerially exposed. So land deposits with marine deposits on top, corresponding with fossils, with zircon ages and what have you. Multiple lines of evidence. I'd be happy to text, a bullet pointed list through Tim or email you places where you can go and check these out. And detrital zircons are always great. You can take zircons out of the rock. You can send them to different labs. You can independently get these age dates. We talked about it last week. So yeah, I'd be happy to help with that.
Zircon sounds like some sort of alien lord or like a robot overlord. I like that.
Like the
better than Voltron.
Yeah. What are the Simpsons aliens name? Like Clang and Clack or whatever. It's like
the brain, yeah.
And Kodos.
Yeah, King and Kodos. Yeah.
I was like, I gotta scan my long term. Yeah.
Gabe said, off topic, but what are the odds you change the outro back to the OG techno music with the Hail Marys was peak?
Oh, the Mega Man music that Timbo wrote us Mega Man music. I like that. I think if you want to hear the old Mega Man music, Greg, it's from
Mega Man 2.
Mega Man 2 from what's his name? Not Aquaman. What's his name? The Aquaman level or whatever that component is on Mega Man 2. Yeah, I had a buddy of mine who did electronica write that, and it's some, you know, you always check if it got a YouTube strike. I think that's still on the Apple podcast. So you have the intro with whatever the new music, the body of the show, the outro with the new music, and then in the right, Stevie, in the Apple podcast, we still
like this. Like but this isn't it. This is not. It's good. Yeah. Best of Mega Man music.
Bubble Man music.
Bubble Man.
Let's get Bubble Man.
Yeah, it's beautiful music. Mega Man 2 music's amazing, and we have a major musician. I'm not going to name him, who is if we end up doing the Catholic Republic documentary, he's going to do all of our music for us.
Cool. That's not Bubble Man. Well, the funny thing, remember that band that like did a cover of all the Mega Man?
Have you ever heard
they
that?
had a guy live.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah, they had a guy.
And then they had a guy live playing.
He would come out. He's like the world's best Mega Man 2 player. Come out and play the music. They would put it all the way down, and this band, like metal band, would play the music in real time. It was amazing.
That's cool.
And when the guy would die, and then when the guy, it's called the Proto Men, I think.
The Proto Men. That's what it was.
And then when the guy,
shit, bro.
And then when the guy would die, remember he would like, they would do like the music. Oh gosh, sorry, I was going to put it on the screen, but then if the guy who played died, remember they would do the music.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh yeah, here it is. You can kind of get a feel for it. But
do we have sound?
Yeah, let me put it up.
Wow. That's cool. They're playing it live while he's okay.
I mean,
this is not music when they're getting ready for the
guy playing.
to come out.
The guy playing
He's
Indian
playing
style,
like sitting Indian style, like we would, in 1986, playing.
Oh my gosh, there he
Nice.
is. I think I watched this entire like 45-minute video.
Yeah, the guy beats it in like 45 minutes. Goes through all the robots twice. Dr. Wily.
Oh my
It's good
gosh.
stuff. So to answer your question, yeah, just listen to the Apple podcast, and
I think I took it off that because I
Oh, you
didn't
took
want 2 outros. But if we're getting demands from people to have both,
Boo.
then we will do them.
Boo. Well, on with that. We don't like that. Yeah, because it had the really cool when I led the rosary at the Stop the Steal rally in DC.
Mhm.
A bunch of us were doing a rosary, walking around, looking at the BLM people. That was really, man, 2020 was so wild. Today is, in general, just reminded me how fucking crazy 2020 was, and how much that changed my view of the world, you know?
Yeah.
It
should have changed everyone's view of the world.
Yeah. I think it did. I mean, but then it's weird in view of Israel.
I would disagree. It didn't change everyone's.
Yeah, those magatards, those boomer magatards that still watch Fox News, you know, just changed my view of Hillary Clinton, the Podestas, Israel. I just fundamentally, you know, I just, you can't go back to sleep.
You can't go back to sleep. And for me personally, it was I always knew that governments could do evil stuff. Every government does. But what my big moment was realizing that people in my life, people that we work with, people that, just everyone out there that you think, out of all those people, maybe 60% of them or 50% would turn on you in a second and would either scream at you over you not getting the vax, or would yell at you because you don't want to wear a mask, or would just turn on you and turn you in many cases.
Yeah.
That was so disturbing to me, just being let down to that extent by my fellow Americans, citizens, friends, or what, in some cases, not in a lot of cases with friends, thank God. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just watching my fellow citizens lose their minds. I think we needed it to refresh our understanding of what this is, that when people start losing it, man, when stuff goes crazy in society, a lot of people are going to go with tyranny.
Yeah.
And even to the American Revolution, who was it that actually built this country, this great country? who put this constitutional republic together, who fought the revolution. It was 20% of the population who supported the patriots, right?
Yeah.
The other 30 to 40%, well, 30 to 40% were loyalists. And that leaves another, what's the math? Approximately a third, a little more than a third, were just like asleep at the wheel. You know, they're playing video games or whatever it was back in that day. So it's less than a third of people are going to stand shoulder to shoulder with you and defend your rights, your natural rights, and defend you as a citizen, as a friend, as a neighbor. And that was my big learning from 2020.
Yeah. Did I get? Oh, there I am. Okay, I could only help myself through your mic, Steph. No, it was a wild time, and they snapped COVID in, and then they pulled it out reasonably quick, and yeah, it took COVID for me to get JQ pilled as well, and Israel pilled. So. And the aliens and we didn't talk about demons today because I don't even see any evidence for real beings associated with these UAPs. But
yeah,
so I didn't even go there. You were like, oh, should we talk about the biblical giants and stuff? I'm like, I don't even see any evidence there. But
I don't have special knowledge on that. I mean, at all. You know, some of the demonology stuff. I mean, you mentioned even Chicago, the Archdiocese of Chicago. I think I've heard crazy, really creepy, disturbing things about that archdiocese going back 40 to 50 years or more, maybe more like 80 years at this point, maybe to the 40s or even 30s. But this is like I think a not so hidden secret. I don't know if you ever saw the TV remake of The Exorcism or The Exorcist. I don't think it wasn't The Exorcism, but it was a TV series about The Exorcist 6 or 7 years ago. They had a whole subplot, and I never finished the series. I kind of want to go back and watch it. But there was a whole subplot about church elders and up through the bishop or the cardinal, I believe, in Chicago, being essentially Satanists, some of them being possessed and taking part in possession or whatever, or being possessed, taking part in Satanism. So again, I've heard bits and pieces, drips and drabs, but I don't know how much veracity there is to it, but I've heard things for many years about Chicago in particular, talking about demonic stuff, really, really disturbing stuff.
I didn't see that, but William Friedkin was flirting with Catholicism and demonology, and he even in 2015 filmed a short documentary on a live exorcism, and he did know about the windswept house stuff. He did know Bernardin that's pretty well known, the great enthronement of Satan on St. John the Apostle's Day. What is it, June 23rd, 1969, when they did the dual enthronement of Satan in the Vatican. And it's Chicago in the book, but it was supposedly really Milwaukee. There's a woman today, the right age, who claims that she is Agnes, the Holocaust victim. It's called The Availing Time. I was saying the other day on this show, remember, folks, that the actual Saeculum Obscurum in the 900s was 68 years. We've had 68 years since the pontificate of Pius XII, who the Sedes say is the last real pope. But there's something they call in Windswept House the Availing Time, that they buy, because they do. That's what they do. They buy. It's, dealing in the dark arts and demonology. They buy stuff, buy wealth, buy fame, buy power, or they buy time. And it's called capital A, capital T, the Availing Time. The Satanists in the church who are running the church through the council, they wanted to buy time when there would be this. What even Paul VI call it? The diabolic deception, the fog which entered the sanctuary through some hidden fissure. No, it's not hidden, Paul VI said. And it's like, well, you're the one that did the new mass and all the stuff, bro. But it's been exactly 68 years. And what Malachi Martin's friends and priests in the church and exorcists say is the Availing Time is coming to an end, which is why Catholic Church is starting to be Catholic again. And people are flooding back into the church. So God is good. God's with us, and a lot of these mysterious bad things are, in a limited way, coming to light. So that's why we've been so rangy today. Also, it's just a Friday, and I think hopefully it was good stuff. Let us know in the comments. Greg, thanks for appearing again. We still need to do some more technical stuff. There's only so technical you can be when you're talking about little green aliens, which we both deny. But
Greg, where can we find you?
Yeah. So on X or whatever, Gregory S. Gordon, also California Liberty Project on X. Yeah, I've got a Substack that I need to start contributing to yet again with articles and pieces. And yeah, over on X would be great. Hope to see you guys there.
All right. Well, thanks again. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Remember, if you want to support the show, we do it on Locals, or I guess you do it on Locals, hopefully. Patreon is a no-go for us. We got kicked off of there. Been kicked out of a lot of different platforms, and Patreon is one of them, just for being a faithful Catholic. So help us out there. Like the video, and maybe in another Friday, we can do some more science. Science Sunday.
Absolutely. There's a lot more science of the Bible, geology of the Bible, lots of other questions to get to anytime. But yeah, thanks for having me again. Fun conversation, wide ranging. We were all over the place. Hopefully it was of interest to people. Hopefully no one's too mad that we don't believe in the power of aliens or the power of the Trump presidency anymore. But I hope they can forgive us. We're patriotic Americans and we're believing Christians. So we're doing our best.
All right. God bless. Take care.